Now, this year's theme is rebuilding trust with the aim of reinforcing consistency and transparency among leaders. Given the numerous conflicts around the world, is this achievable?
Yeah, thanks, Esther. Your question is simple and complex at the same time because at the World Economic Forum, as world leaders and business leaders and political leaders are meeting, the world is still embroiled in very many conflicts all over the world. To mention a few, the numerous conflicts in Africa. We have the Israel-Hamas conflict still going on, Russia, Ukraine. Rebuilding trust is not as easy as it sounds. It is a step in the right direction, and of course, we welcome it from a diplomatic and peace and security perspective. But the reality is, Esther, that countries will always act in their best interests. So if countries feel that their interests are threatened at any given time or on any given issue, they will not really think about rebuilding trust and working with each other. They will still try and use whatever means necessary at their disposal to achieve whatever interests are threatened.
Professor,
so rebuilding trust is
it's going to be a kind of okay. So now we know that several African leaders are attending the summit. They have also addressed the forum, including Kenya's President William Ruto, Nigeria's Bola Tinubu, and others. But what gains really can Africa expect out of this forum?
The forum gives Africa a chance to talk about, number one, climate change issues, climate financing, trying to talk about the deficit in terms of trade between the global north and the global south. So Africa can hope at least to attract investments and to just put out a voice there for fair play in global economics. That's exactly what Africa would be pushing for and should be pushing for in such a forum.
Now, very quickly, Professor, there's a big focus on the use of AI. Of course, there are some concerns about the security issues surrounding the use of AI. But in what ways can Africa tap the use of AI effectively for the development of the continent?
Yeah, in terms of things like medicine, AI can really help Africa in terms of diagnosis, in terms of medicine, thinking about manufacturing and production. So AI is still a new field, but Africa could actually relatively gain in terms of agriculture, issues to do with agriculture, the medical field, for me, and food security. Those are the three main areas that Africa should be aiming to benefit from the use of AI.
In terms of the youth contribution from the continent, what do you see as very important and key for the youth to be able to engage and kind of, help inject development in the continent of Africa?
Okay, I'll answer this question by piggybacking on what you asked previously. The youth now can leverage on this new technology, AI. Universities within Africa should make that part of the curriculum in trying to see what kind of new innovation that the youth all over Africa can utilize in trying to just advance the continent's agenda in terms of manufacturing, development, the medical field, and innovation. So that's how the African youth can tap into this new technology to just drive economic and development forward on the African continent.
And quickly on security issues, the conflicts are affecting Africa. We see DRC, Sudan, and a few others. What can they do in terms of being consistent and building that trust?
African leaders, the non-aligned movement in Uganda that ended today is a step in the right direction, rebuilding trust among African leaders and from a regional bloc perspective. So, for example, let's have IGAD settle its own issues among its leaders. Let's have the East African community, because we have also had issues between Burundi and Rwanda, DRC and Rwanda and Burundi and all that. So in all these regional blocs that we have in Africa, let's rebuild trust locally before we think about rebuilding trust intercontinentally. So in my view, small baby steps first, and then globally we can have the world actually coming together and working towards the same direction. So Africans first deal with their own small cocoons in their own small regional blocks, rebuild trust with one another, and solve issues diplomatically before we move out of the continent.